I was born in Ottumwa, Iowa. I lived there until I was 13 years old, and then my father, who worked on the Burlington Northern Railroad, moved to Illinois as a part of that company's relocation, and lived in Illinois, Galesburg, Illinois, for about the next 13 years. I went to high school there, college, graduate and medical school, ultimately. So I'm a Midwestern farm boy. When I was in 7th grade, just before I had left Iowa, we had to take an inventory test on the computer, which was one of the first computer tests we had ever taken at that point. And we're talking 1980 in time, 1982 or so. And as a part of that test, it told me that my greatest aptitude vocationally was going to be as a florist. And granted, I have nothing against flowers in moderation, but I clearly knew that the computer algorithms still needed a lot of development. Number 2 on that list was medicine, and obviously I decided to stick with that one. My first job was a dual job, actually. I worked at a hobby shop after school. The hobby shop was only open until 6 p.m. and I realized that didn't provide enough money to feed the gas just to get to work and back. So I actually took a second job, maybe 2 months after I started at the hobby shop, at a local movie theater. So I was an usher, and I sold model railroads and flowers. So I guess I didn't totally get away from the florist thing. I'd say clearly that's my mother. My mom is a registered nurse. She was a nurse educator. She's been a floor nurse in the hospitals, as well as a home visiting nurse, and most recently in her career, prior to retirement, as a nurse administrator. And I think from a very early age, her bias was to have me try to be part of the health professions. And obviously there's a lot of insight into the health professions that she's provided, and the gratification that I saw my mother receive from her line of work. So clearly she's been the one who's been most influential to me. Neurosurgery is one of those areas where it requires exquisite attention to detail and precision, but it is also an area where we are a small subset of folks who are able to make very dramatic, positive impacts on a person's life. The gratification that comes from that is tremendous. And truthfully, it's a blessing in and of itself, merely being allowed the opportunity to help a person to that extent. So every day there's a new issue, a new challenge. The problems that we encounter in neurosurgery are widespread, multifaceted. So every day there can be completely new things to encounter, and most of these conditions that we do encounter, we can have very dramatic, positive outcomes for folks.